Hey travelers, it's 5:45 in the morning. I'm in the Madrid Barajas airport because I've got a low-cost flight, so I had to be here super early in the morning. It's 4:45. My brain isn't quite working because I had to get up at 3:30 to get a taxi at 4 to get here at 4:15 to check in. I've already checked in. I've got my tickets, my bags checked, all these kind of things. And I'm tired. I mean, it's 4:45. I'm not lying to you. Here, look. Look. Can you see? I'm not lying. 4:45, I'm here. Now the thing is, it got me thinking, like, what's the great things about the cheap airlines and some of the bad things about it? So what I have for you are the 5 things you're gonna love and hate about using cheap airlines, okay? Now when you're flying around Europe, it's really a good deal a lot of times to use them, like the Easyjets and the Ryanairs, but even with the great prices, there are some issues out there. So I'll give you the things you're gonna kind of hate about those cheap airlines when you start off, okay? So let's get started. The first thing you're not gonna like is, one, you can have some really crappy times. You know, for example, I had to get up at 3:30 in the morning to get a taxi at 4 to get here 4:15 for check-in for a 6 o'clock flight. These cheap airlines, sometimes to get those cheap prices, they have to take the less desirable times, so like very early in the morning or very late at night. And those times make it difficult for you to get here, because instead of taking the subway here for, you know, a couple euros, I had to pay the 30 euros for the taxi to get here. Also, if you're going to places like Stansted, I mean, it can add up a lot of extra money just to get to the airport for that early morning flight or that late night flight. And Stansted's in London, by the way, if you're flying like Ryanair or something. Okay, so these flight times aren't as helpful as if you fly like a British Airways or an Alitalia or something like that sometimes. So just know that those flight times can cause some problems. So you might be able to get in at a great price, but you get in such an hour that it's not really a good thing to do, okay? So that's the first thing you're not gonna like. What's the second thing you're not gonna like? The additional costs. Now, when you see some of the fares online, it seems like, wow, that's gonna be really cheap. I'm gonna have a great time and a great price and all kinds of stuff. 39 euros to Madrid or 39 euros to Rome or something like that. A lot of times there's a lot of additional costs, and a lot of airlines now are actually putting these things as well, even the full service airlines. So for example, you fly Ryanair, oh well, you have to check your bag. Oh, if your carry-on's too heavy, we're gonna make you check that as well. And you have all these additional costs. Oh, you wanna eat something on the plane, or you want some water? Oh, we're gonna have to pay for that as well. So there's a lot of additional costs that go into that. Also with the additional costs, you do have, you know, the prices of getting to those places. So, you know, you might be going to, you know, Stansted Airport, which are a great deal with Ryanair, but then the train in costs you like 30 pounds or something like that. So you have these extra costs that go on there that go with that. And that leads us into the number 3 thing you're not going to like about the cheap airlines is actually a lot of them use not the central airport, not the main airport. I remember one time I flew with Ryanair to Barcelona, and I got a ticket to Barcelona. I saw a great price. I get off the plane, I'm flying, I'm like, this isn't Barcelona, I'm flying in like a small town. It was Barcelona, Girona, okay, which is like an hour away. So I had an hour bus ride to get into town that I had to pay for. Thank God they still had the buses. If I would have gotten in late and I had to take a taxi on an hour-long taxi ride into Barcelona, it could have added a lot of money onto my actual bill. So a lot of them don't fly into the main airports. Now they are getting better. You know, you can fly into Lisbon and their main airport. That's great. Here we're actually flying from Barajas, the main airport in Madrid, so you're okay. But just make sure you pay attention, because sometimes they say Vienna, but they mean Bratislava or something like that. So be careful, because you might be in one of these outskirt airports. You know, you're not flying into O'Hare, you might be flying to Midway or Peoria. Okay, so just pay attention to those things when you're booking. The 4th thing you're not gonna like when you go there is, when you use these cheap airlines, is it's cattle call seating. So people are like hustling up to the front, waiting in line, you're waiting in line to get in, because when they say, okay, time to board, everybody makes a beeline to get in. And the thing is when you do that, if you're in a group, it's hard to keep everyone together. So if you have kids, make sure if they're under 5, you get to go in first, you get up there. Because they might not announce it, but you just walk to the front and get up there. Now, if you're going, you and your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, wife, things like that, or older kids, I would say, hey, have mom with one, dad with the other one, or something like that, because you might not get to sit together, okay? Because that cattle call seating, just a mad rush. And then, of course, with the bags and everyone taking the spots and stuff like that, it gets a little frustrating. And the 5th thing you're not going to like about the cheap airlines is sometimes it's hard to find the costs or the actual prices. Like if you go to Cheap Tickets or Expedia, they'll have like British Airways and Alitalia and all those flights, but they don't put the Easyjets and the Vuelings on there. So a lot of the consolidators, a lot of the websites that give you the ticket prices don't have the cheaper airlines on there like the Easyjets. So you actually have to go search. And so you have to find those prices that way versus doing your big search comparing a British Airways and things like that. And I guess I can give you just a few extra little things here. One, if you're going to have a quick connection between the two, a lot of the cheap airlines don't let you check your bags at both, so you might have to recheck your bags. Or if you're just carry-on luggage, you think, oh, I have 2 hours in Frankfurt, like I have 2 hours in Rome. Okay, will I make it? Well, what if there's a delay? If there's delay, you can be in trouble because they say, no, that was one flight you paid for, and this is a different kind of flight, and you didn't make it. That's your fault, not ours. So that can be kind of frustrating out there, okay? But honestly, I mean, the cheap airlines really have made traveling to Europe so much easier. You don't need to get your Eurorail pass to go all everywhere. You can fly London to Berlin on Easyjet and see that, then fly to Berlin, and then from Berlin to Lisbon, and then from Lisbon you can fly there to Madrid or whatever, and you can save a lot of time, and you can save a lot of money using these things. And that's why I kind of love taking these cheap airlines. So what are the things you're going to love about taking the cheap airlines here in Europe? Well, the first thing you're going to love is the price. They are significantly more expensive than the other airlines. But here's the caveat. You got to realize is you got to book early because those cheap airlines are not cheap if you're booking like 5 days before. It's going to be just as expensive as everything else. So make sure you book early. Also, with all those extra costs I talked about, sometimes it's better to book a British Airways than an Easyjet or a Ryanair because you're flying into Heathrow, so you can take the public transport in for £4 in London versus having like a £20 bus ride or a 20-pound train ride, okay? But hey, you can't beat the price on the Easyjet things. It makes it affordable for everyone. Everyone can fly now instead of just the rich. So it's really nice that way. So the prices, that's the first thing you're going to love. The second thing you're going to love is they go to tons of places. You can go to the Granadas, you can go to the Lisbons, the Berlins, the Genevas, and things like that, because now they've opened it up to all these non-traditional airports. So you're not just doing the hub spoke thing, we're flying via Paris to get everywhere. No, you can go Lisbon to Bern or something like that. And they have all these great locations that you might not have thought about going, and now you can get to an affordable price. So hey, that's one of the great things about it. Also, their websites are pretty cool because usually you just pick on a city and they'll show all the places it goes. Makes life a lot easier to figure out the best way to get places. The third thing you like, which is kind of funny because it's a cheap airline, but usually the cheap airlines have pretty decent service, so the people are usually pretty friendly and helpful. The flight attendants and things like that, they do like lots of silly stuff. But usually I find that cheap airlines have pretty good service in terms of price-quality ratio. I mean, you're not paying much, so you don't expect much, but they do a very good job of service in terms of the service you get for the price you pay. So I think that's a nice benefit you have with them. The fourth thing I like about these cheap airlines is a lot of them have a lot of help with your trips. Whereas I buy something with United, they give me, you can do Hertz or you hit us a hotel, things like that. Here you buy with EasyJet, you're on the plane, they have a book that has, here's the 5 things you should see in Paris, and here's a cool thing to eat in Malta, and things like that. And you get all this little helpful things, and they have downloadable maps, downloadable PDFs about what you should see and do in those cities. And I think this is one of those things that the major airlines have really missed out on, is they're not helping me, they're helping me get to my destination, but they're not helping me enjoy my destination. And these cheap airlines are doing a better job of helping you enjoy your destination and learn about it before you go than the other places. So if you're doing the Ryanair or the EasyJet, go check out their city recommendations and their city maps, download them and take them with you. Okay, it makes it so nice to have those with you, and that's one of those nice little benefits they give. Also, like I said, in the books, your EasyJet or Ryanair books, those little magazines they have in the plane, they have them in there, they'll tell you all the stuff there. So it's great to just do a last minute, what should I do when I'm there? They have that right there. The fifth thing you're going to love about these cheap airlines is it really does open up your opportunities. You're not just stuck to, we're only in Germany, or we're only in Italy, or we can only do like a Central Europe trip. You can really see all of Europe, or a lot of Europe, on your backpacking adventure by using the planes. So you can go, like I said, go to London, see some of England, things like that, maybe get up to Scotland, and then fly down to Portugal. And then from Portugal, you see the stuff in Portugal, maybe you take a train over to Madrid, and then you go, or fly to Madrid, see some of Spain, and then, you know what, I want to go see my family in Greece. Fly over to Greece to see them there, do that thing there, and then fly up to Berlin, and see some of my German family. And so you have this nice opportunity to really see a lot more of Europe. Instead of just a region, you can see a lot more places. And for me, that's another one of the best things you're going to love about these cheap airlines. Anyway, I hope that helped you. I hope you do enjoy flying with the cheap airlines or the full service airlines. They're all great. But if you want to learn more about traveling in Europe and using airlines and all kinds of stuff, please check us out at our website at woltersworld.com. We're also on Twitter and Facebook. And if you have things you love and hate about the cheap airlines, please leave it in the comment section below. We really appreciate all your comments, okay? And your subscriptions and your likes and all these things. Well, I'm going to go through security. Hopefully I can make my flight. I'll see you later. Bye from Barajas Airport in Madrid, Spain. Adios.